We're looking back at this day in local history as we prepare for the nation's semi-quincentennial in July. 12 years ago today, springtime storms led to major problems in Mississippi. Heavy rainfall caused Dabbs Creek in Simpson County to flood, spilling over its banks and covering a large section of Highway 49 between Braxton and Delo. The highway had to be shut down in both directions for several days, leading to major traffic problems as cars and trucks were forced to find alternate routes on higher ground. At the same time, Covington County was dealing with a tornado that caused extensive damage to homes and other structures. Mississippians are accustomed to spring storms, but the weather was especially disruptive in April of 2014. Your look at this day in history.